Fine. So we go back to our discussion of dynamics of structures, elementary, very quick introduction. So as we have been discussing that we need to look at what is the maximum response due to earthquake, and then we can design the system. So we need to estimate what is meant by dynamic response and how do we compute it. So first thing that we need to look at is the equation of motion, that we you already know what is the equation of motion, how it is derived based on the equilibrium, dynamic equilibrium using D'Alembert's principle. There are several other methods of developing this equation of motion, but D'Alembert's principle is probably the most appealing, intuitively appealing, based on the concept of equilibrium of forces that all of us are so familiar with. Right now, that's a extension, that's a generalization of what we already know as the static solution. Ku is equal to P, that's your static equation of equilibrium. Internal force is equal to external force, and in the dynamic system this is what we have. The force is time dependent, and therefore it brings us two additional terms, that is dissipative forces and the inertia term, which govern, which add to this elastic forces, restoring forces in the system. So together this system, this second order differential equation can be solved as a superposition of two solutions. One is this homogeneous solution, that is solution of the homogeneous part when this right hand side is equal to 0, and then the particular solution which is solution, any solution of V which will satisfy this equation. And then this homogeneous part of course has two unknown coefficients which can be solved for by using the initial conditions, that is on the what is the displacement at time t is equal to 0 and what is the initial velocity at time t is equal to 0. These two conditions are enough, sufficient to estimate the unknown coefficients, and that is what we call as initial value problem. In contrast, we also have another class of differential equations where the solution is characterized by the boundary conditions of the problem, boundary conditions in space coordinates, and a very familiar example is what you deal with Euler-Bernoulli beam deflection equation. So these are the essential ingredients, and now we need to solve the initial value problem. The initial value problem solution is very simple. There are several ways of deriving this equation. One is of course going back to the definition, classical definition of the derivative being approximated by finite difference. So this is forward difference approximation of the derivative, and then when you simplify it, you get this relationship, and that you can write it in the recurrence form. The solution at the current time instant can be increment can be added to that solution at the current time instant to find out what is the solution at the next time instant. Right, so this is what step-by-step procedure is. So this is what we call as time marching. Time marching schemes, and the simplest one is of course if you know the derivative function then all that you need to find out is evaluate it at some time, multiply it by the increment delta t, and add this to the previous what is the value of the function, a variable, unknown variable at time t, to predict the variable at t plus delta t. Now if I assume this, use the value of a gradient, let's say the function varies like this. Right, so let's say at this is Tn, and let's say this is Tn plus 1. So we figure out what is this Vn. Vn is equal to, is same as V at Tn, and we find out what is the derivative of this function at this point, and this is of course delta t, and that is the derivative approximation, and that is what we add to Vn to get the estimate of V at next time instant. Now as you can see, if I choose too large a time instant, then there is going to be a deviation. I have a very crude control over the function. There is no constraint as such, and it may begin to errors may accumulate, and the trajectory may begin to deviate from the true solution. So that's why this is called forward Euler, and this is a very unstable procedure unless I use delta t very small. A better way to constrain is I find out this dV by dt, what is the approximation of dV by dt at the end of the time interval, and use that in this expression. So that is called backward Euler, when I use the gradient value at the end of the time interval and use that in this expression. Now often the problem is, I mean, it's very easy to say, but the problem is this gradient function dV by dt is often a function of obviously time and the unknown variable. So dV by dt, if I try to find out what is the value of this gradient function at time t at the end of this interval, I need to find out, I need to have an estimate of what is the value of V at the end of this interval, which is what we are trying to find out. So one standard trick to solve this problem is I use forward Euler estimate for Vn plus 1 and then substitute that estimate for the gradient function, and then use that gradient value at the end of the interval to find out this corrected value of a better estimate of solution at the next time instant. So that's how initial value problems are solved. So we need to use this for solution of our equations. So can you handle that? And the ground motion, of course you need to find out earthquake excitation, what I am referring to here as UG double dot, and as I mentioned in our last lecture, this website strong motion center .org, right? We had seen that and you can get the data from this station. These are the different data center networks which have contributed to this compilation. So you can get the data from whatever you need. So let's try to find out 1989. Okay, let us look at Loma Prieta. Magnitude 7 to 8. Okay, let's forget about Loma Prieta. Year 1985 to 2000. Any country, let's say. So Hector Mine earthquake, Loma Prieta earthquake. Okay, so landers. So let's say Hector, Loma Prieta earthquake. So these are the ground motions, and any ground motion you can take. Let's say Coyote Lake, horizontal acceleration about 0.5, 0.6 G. San Francisco Bay, this is on the bridge, commercial building, Canyon Road. Okay, 7.1. Okay, fine. Let's look at this. So this is what the ground motion is. This is acceleration trace, this is velocity trace, this is displacement trace, and this is response spectrum of the event of this particular record, right? So if I download this, yeah. So can you see this? So you
Yes,
can see this is corrected accelerogram. That is what when we apply the instrument correction, baseline correction, etc., to get those data which can be used for engineering analysis. That's what we call as corrected accelerogram. So you can see the headers that contains the information about the earthquake, Loma Prieta earthquake, the recording station, what is the channel, which component it is, what is the period of the instrument on which it was recorded, natural period of the oscillator which recorded this, damping, sensing, sensitivity, record length, total length of the record is about 40 seconds, and peak acceleration of this record. I mean, now you can see that 2000 points of instrument and baseline corrected acceleration, velocity and displacement data at equally spaced intervals of 0.02 second. So that's delta t that I was referring to. These are the 2000 points of acceleration data equally spaced at 0.02 second. So in the units of centimeters per second squared. So read horizontally and you will get the complete time history of the ground motion, and that will comprise your UG double dot, that ground acceleration, the velocity trace. And believe after these 2000 data points, you have this velocity data which are equally spaced, 2000 points of velocity data, and below this velocity data there would be corresponding displacement time history in the, again at 0.02 seconds in the units of centimeters. And then there is another component, that's the first component. Then you have a vertical component, again same information, 2000 points acceleration followed by 2000 points velocity and so on. And then there will be the other horizontal component beneath under the displacement. So this is channel 3, the horizontal component, 0 degree, so this is the east-west component. So again here you have one extra data point, 2001 points at 0.02 second. So this is how strong motion data looks like, and you can download the data from this for any earthquake from Strong Motion Center web page, CSMD strong motion data set, and that can be used for your analysis. So once you use that, once you do that, you have the excitation ready. Now we come back to the question. You have the excitation defined for a given single degree of freedom system. You know the parameters of the system, mass, damping and stiffness. I can as well write this alternative representation is if I divide the entire system by entire equation by the mass of the system, right? So this is what the equation you need to solve, of course with initial conditions. We generally assume at rest conditions. So the system is at rest at time t is equal to 0, right? So both the displacement and velocities are 0. So now the question is, how do you solve this system of equations, this single degree freedom system? This is natural frequency. I hope you are familiar with the relation omega n squared is equal to spring constant k divided by m. You are familiar with this?
Yes, sir.
This comes from the principle, I mean several ways you can derive this, but the most appealing is of course the conservation of energy. If the system is executing simple harmonic motion at frequency omega n, then you just equate, there is a constant interchange. If you imagine that simple pendulum, there is a constant interchange between potential energy and kinetic energy. So if you equate maximum potential energy stored with maximum kinetic energy in the system, you would get this equation, omega n squared is equal to k by m, right? So that's the interpretation is very simple, very far reaching and very significant. This system, for a given value of k and omega, the system will execute simple harmonic motion only at this frequency. Simple harmonic motion is not possible at any frequency other than this, and that's why it's called natural frequency. That's an inherent character of the system, right? And that's very interesting thing, because the response to any external stimuli depends on your inherent character. That's what I call as personality traits. So natural frequency of a system, of a structure, is its personality. How the structure will respond to a given excitation depends on its personality. This is true with everything, every system, every human being or anything in the world. The response to any external stimulus depends on its personality. And the natural frequency of the system, of any structural system, is its personality, and if anything changes, the parameters, system parameters change, its personality will change and its response to a given external stimulus is going to change. So what I want you to do is find out the solution of this differential equation for 5% damping. I freeze the damping as 5%. And then omega n ranging from what? 0.01 to, let us say it will be about 200. Radians per second. Right, okay, 0.01 is little too small, so I can just say 0.1. So .10 to 200 radians per second. You need to solve this differential equation and compute the response spectrum. So how will you do that? Okay, so this is your assignment number 1. It is due on today's 17. So maybe by 28. So let's say by the end of 30th September. Okay? Any questions about this? Yes?
So the first step.
First step?
Yes, sir. I didn't get that. Accelerogram. What is it?
अरे भाई अभी तो बताया ना, ये जो आपको दिखाया, दिस इज एक्सेलरोग्राम.
Okay. So yeah.
एक्सेलरोग्राम इज एक्सेलरेशन ट्रेस. ये जो है, इफ आई नाउ प्लॉट दिस, ये जो आपको दिखता है, कहाँ गया, दिस इज व्हाट आई कॉल एज एक्सेलरोग्राम. ये जो टाइम हिस्ट्री है ना, दिस टाइम हिस्ट्री इज नोन एज एक्सेलरोग्राम, एक्सेलरेशन टाइम हिस्ट्री.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Right? So you need to find out from this strong motion center any time history of earthquake around 7 magnitude recorded within a distance of 10 kilometers, right? So I can say in the range of 10 to, let's say, 20 kilometers, anything in between 10 to 20, and then you need to compute response spectrum. Let me be more specific. Spectral displacement, or if you know spectral displacement, you can also find out pseudo velocity, because you will need pseudo velocity to plot it on the tripartite. You can only plot pseudo velocity, right? And then plot it on the tripartite graph paper. You can choose whatever automatic increment you want to use for omega n. So there you need to put it in a do loop, for loop. Omega n की वैल्यू 0.1 से शुरू होगी और it will go up to 200, and it will solve the your system. You should write a code which will solve the differential equation, find out what is the maximum value for each omega n, and then save that in an array, and then you will plot that omega n or Tn versus pseudo velocity. Right? So any questions?
Sir, one thing. This graph paper, we will draw Tn versus pseudo velocity manually, or it is to be done by software only?
Whatever. you have the graph paper available for download on the course web page, Moodle. You can also have a look at, if you can find a utility to plot it on using any computer software, go ahead, do that, no issues. Do you have any utility for that?
Sir, means in Octave we can plot, but we have to learn.
Octave you will not get tripartite plot.
Then we will manually plot.
You can plot it using GNU plot. There is a script that I had written that is available on my web page for download, but you can use that if you wish. But fine. Start working on it, and plotting is only 1 minute job. Right, so there is a lot of ground to be covered before you come to the plotting exercise. Right, of course, you are free to interact with me whenever you need, whatever you need to discuss in order to solve the problem. So, any other issue, when you need to solve this differential equation. Let me write it out in detailed form. Right, so this UG double dot, that comes from this accelerogram. Omega n comes from this range. Zeta 0.05. Initial conditions, you need to solve for, assume 0 initial conditions, system at rest. Right? Now, how will you solve? Please note that in our earlier discussion, we have discussed this as a solution of initial value problem, but this only refers to the first order differential equation. The derivative is only first derivative, and that is what you can solve by using this forward difference. How will you solve this equation, which is actually second order differential equation? I have only discussed the first order differential equation. And there is a utility in Octave, intrinsic function, LSODE.
Board is not visible.
Okay,
The screen is not visible.
Okay, board is not visible. Let me take a new sheet. So, Octave has a function which can do this job. It is called this is not visible. It's presenting. You are able to see the strong motion data web page?
No.
Yes or no?
Presenting right now. That's the issue. So they are not seeing 2 as presenting.
I am presenting. I am presenting my screen.
Maybe just try stopping then again presenting it. That will be.
Okay,
Yes,
so
Yes, sir.
okay, so GNU Octave, so LS ODE, this is the function which can solve solution of ordinary differential equation. That is what it means. So it solves initial value problem, or rather I would just say first order differential equation. Solution of. So now the question is, how do you convert a second order differential equation into first order differential equation? LSODE, you can read the man page help file. You just need to provide a function which is what you need to integrate the gradient function, and the time range for which you need to solve, and that's it, and then it will give you the solution. So you just need to figure out how to call this function, and you should be able to solve. Now then you need to solve it for a number of oscillators of different natural frequency from 0.1 to 200. So you can choose your own increment, figure out how to find out the suitable increment. One usual trick is you do this as a equidistant on the logarithmic scale. So consider the logarithm of this natural frequency, and then use the equal increment on that logarithmic range, right? But then anything should do. I mean, as long as you are solving it, it's only a matter of time before you would be able to solve. So so how do you convert this? This is a second order differential equation. How do you convert this second order differential equation into the first order differential equation, which can be solved by LSODE? So this is an exercise that the whole idea of this is you need to develop this kind of attitude that there are some tools available which can do some part of the job, and in order to get something done, you need to make use of the available tools. So you need to transform your problem into a form which can be handled by this tool, right? So you have a second order differential equation, and you have a solver which can handle first order differential equation. So how do you go about it? Any ideas? I am sure you must have dealt with this in the course on numerical methods or engineering mathematics. क्या हुआ?
So using partial differential equation.
Using partial, I mean, this is ordinary differential equation. There is only one variable, one independent variable, that is time. So what is partial in that?
So we can assume any variable z, it will be equal to dv by
Yes, you can convert this. The whole idea is you need to convert second order differential equation into first order differential equation, right? How do you do this? By defining auxiliary variables. Define z as v and v dot, right? Then automatically what is z dot becomes v dot and v double dot, right? So then I can write this equation v dot v double dot plus, let us say, v and v dot is equal to, let's say, 0 and minus ug double dot, and there would be some 2 by 2 matrix here. So what is this 2 by 2 matrix here? So v double dot, the original differential equation, we had v double dot, this is v double dot, right? So I just concentrate on the second row. So this is what I have. So v double dot plus omega n square times v and twice zeta omega n times v dot is equal to ug double dot. That's the original differential equation that we had, second order differential equation. So that is now the second row of this new equation. First row of the equation, we can just have it as minus omega n square 0 0 omega n square. What does it say? Minus omega n square times v dot plus omega n square times v dot is equal to 0. This is what we call as an auxiliary equation. It's just a statement identity, right? So we have not added anything, we have just we have not done anything different. It is the still same differential equation which has been now converted. Now if I do this, now why did I choose? I could have written this as omega n squared and I could have written this as minus omega n squared. I just wanted to retain these matrices to be symmetric. It's always better to deal with symmetric matrices for several reasons, including numerical stability. So now I can rewrite this equation as A times Z dot plus B times Z is equal to, let's say, F. So this can be converted to Z dot is equal to minus A inverse B Z plus A inverse F. Now this is the form which can be handled by LS ODE. This equation can be solved by using LS ODE. So all that you need to do is figure out how to write this function z dot and then pass it on as an argument to LS ODE, and you should be able to get the answer. F depends on this UG double dot. Any question? Yes?
So how will we incorporate that UV into our code? Like we are downloading it from the site.
So you will read it in an array. So it contains the data. So this is for each time instant you will have some value. Right? So you will read out all those. I mean, see, this is what I had mentioned here. This is what you have, all the time steps, and these are the tabulated values. So you just read these values in an array, and that becomes for each time instant you pick up appropriate value. That's all. So at time t is equal to t1, you just use UG double dot at time t is equal to t1. So appropriate element of this array. That's all. So did you get it? What I'm trying to convey?
Sorry, your voice was breaking. So can you repeat it?
See, this is the array, this is the ground motion, right? So you will read this, all these points, 2001 points in an array of this form. Okay, it is not able to write here. So you will read in ground acceleration data in an array, right? So you will define an array, let's say UG D dot 0 UG D dot 1 UG D dot 2 and so on, right? So this is what it is. So so this corresponds to UG double dot at time t is equal to 0. This corresponds to UG double dot at time delta t. This corresponds to UG double dot at time 2 times delta t, so on. So at every time instant you have the Zn is equal to some function, let's say minus A inverse B Zn plus A inverse 0 UG double dot at n times delta t. This is what you are solving. So you will keep on changing this value UG double dot appropriate time instant, whatever time instant you are looking at, and you will use this value of UG double dot from this array.
Sir,
Yes.
so we will make the array and how we will make it read from the previous document. Means we give the extension file of that document or whatsoever I unrolled with that.
अरे भाई रीड फाइल आपका एफ स्कैन एफ से रीड होता है. एफ स्कैन एफ इज द command function for reading read input from a file. उसके पहले आपको फाइल ओपन करनी होगी तो यू विल हैव टू यूज एफ ओपन टू असाइन ए फाइल. कौन सी फाइल से आपको रीड करना है, सो यू विल नीड टू फाइंड आउट. सो रीड about this f open, read about this f scan f, and you will understand how to arrange. नहीं आया समझ में अभी? एक मिनट आपको. हाँ
जो एफ ओपन और स्कैनर के बारे में पढ़ना होगा.
हाँ ऑब्वियसली पढ़ना तो पड़ेगा. तो ये आपको दिख रहा है और ऑक्टेव की स्क्रीन दिख रही है आपको.
Yes, sir.
सो हियर यू कैन फाइंड आउट द डॉक्यूमेंटेशन. इट इज़ ऑलरेडी देयर. यहाँ पे आप थर्ड टैब करेंगे तो आपको डॉक्यूमेंटेशन मिलेगा. यहाँ पर आपको चाहे जो मिल सकता है. तो हियर आई कैन सी एफ ओपन. ओके लेट मी जस्ट से हेल्प एफ ओपन. सो दिस इज़ हाउ इट इज़. कोई भी आपकी फाइल है तो उसका एक हैंडल आपको देना होता है. So if this is the file, then you refer it to using in Octave script by using this handle. So fopen assigns this file name with this handle, right? And it is in the read mode, read only mode. किस format में है वो इस तरह के, यानी this is the optional item. So these are the option. Default is read. If you want to open a file for writing, which you will need to do that because to save the results for plotting, so you need to open a file for writing and so on, right? And similarly you can f scan f is for reading that. सो ये एफ आई डी फाइल आइडेंटिफायर जो कि पहले एफ ओपन से असाइन हुआ, यूज़ दैट फाइल आइडेंटिफायर हियर. देन द टेम्पलेट इज़ हाउ यू वांट टू रीड, किस तरह का डेटा किस तरह से अरेंज किया हुआ है, एंड यू गेट द वैल्यू हियर. यू कैन गेट द वट एवर यू आर रीडिंग इन दिस आर्गुमेंट वैल, दैट्स द वेरिएबल विच स्टोर्स दिस थिंग. देन ऑप्शनल आर्गुमेंट इज़ कितना डेटा रीड किया, सो यू कैन गेट द number of data points also, right? So and then if you have to print it, then you need to use fprintf again in the same order. Just as fscanf, you have fprintf with file identifier and the template according to which it has to print the data. So that's all. For loop के लिए आपका syntax is like this. Begin a for loop in an increment of 1. If you provide another argument, that will be the increment. You can choose either of these. Do का भी आप ले सकते हो, do until, and so on. There are several ways of running a repetition structure. So that's in parallel, so that's not really required parallel for. Right? So start working on this, and obviously you will definitely encounter difficulties if it is the first time you are trying to solve any problem on a computer. So, but it's worth the trouble. That's a very important skill to develop. So if you have any difficulty, please feel free to contact me, but start working on it, because we will need this response spectra calculation and how to use response spectra for our further discussions down the line. Okay, I have exceeded my time by a large margin. I guess all the students have already left probably to another class. Looks like they are in a different class now. Chalo, let's stop.